Alright, hi guys, sorry about that. This is the setup for part 2 of this review, Breakfast for Two. So I have incorporated a lot of Angelo's Bakery items, like the milk. That comes from Angelo's Bakery, and Angelo's Bakery is in Claudie, the historical doll from AG. That's part of her collection. The rolled oats, sorry guys, my camera is acting up. The rolled oats, that's a part of the oatmeal that I'm pretending is in the soup tureen from Caroline's collection. So I've added the soup tureen to this setup as well as the bowls, Caroline's bowls. And so these are some spoons that I ended up getting from another doll collection item, which I got from a tea museum. I ended up getting like a small tea set from a tea museum in New England. You've got the eggs. Let me see if I can get a better look at the eggs with the speckled pepper. So if you had a doll set that has salt and pepper shakers, I would definitely incorporate that as well. And so you can see the shininess of the tableware, like the forks, one butter knife, which is not a real knife, the butter, of course, right? Sorry, I'm zooming in and out, I guess. And so then you have Nellie, who's anxiously waiting for breakfast, right? And then you have some more of Caroline's items over here. You have some more of the bakery things, like the eggs. Then you have obviously these little delicacies that are imprinted on the bakery itself. And then you have the toast. So with the toast, you can either press the toast down with your fingers, and then you press this little button off to the side, and it's supposed to pop up, but let me try it again for those special effects. See if I can do it without. Let me move the chair. Okay, so that's how the toaster works. So very nice. I'm pretending again that you have oatmeal from the tureen. So you would just open that up. You would take the ladle, spoon the oatmeal in. Put the ladle back. Then you would take your milk, and some people like a little extra milk in their oatmeal or cream. Alright, go ahead and do that for doll play. Pour a little milk in there. And then for those of you who, really like the whole breakfast ordeal, some people even put like little jam in their oatmeal. So you can even pretend that you're getting some jam with your butter knife and adding it to your oatmeal. And it's strawberry, so some people like their oatmeal a little bit on the sweeter side. But yeah, I think these rolled oats, this box of rolled oats, would be something that they would have back in 1904, because factories were big back in 1904. And by the time the 1920s came and Angelo's Bakery was really booming, all these things would have been readily available. But, don't be mistaken. They had basil and parsley and all this stuff, rolled oats and milk and jam. They were manufacturing that back in Samantha and Nellie's time. in the early 1900s, at the very start of the 1900s, 1904. So a lot of people got their work from working in a factory. A lot of them were part of labor. The reason that labor laws were invented, uh, because you had a lot of poor, malnourished people working in factories, and there were no such things as health benefits when you were working in a factory. Nellie's story proves all that. For all you youngins out there who want to read Nellie's story, or you have read Samantha's story, you know of some of the hardships that some of your ancestors probably had to go through when they were working in New York factories uh, after coming through Ellis Island. So, Addie's story is very sad because it talks about American slavery, and that's just a part of American history. And Ellis Island, for a lot of immigrants, as well as factory regulations and factory laws, a lot of that came out of the hardships of poor immigrants working in factories and not having representation. Like in Nellie's story, no one was really there to help her. And those who lost parents from working in factories and on railroads and doing all kinds of unspeakable kinds of jobs in New York City, those children went on orphan trains because the orphanages were so overcrowded with children that some of those children were shipped off into the West. But that's more elementary school history, fourth grade history, fifth grade history, maybe even sixth grade history. I'm not really sure, but either way, a lot of you guys will probably be learning that if you haven't already learned that through your American history. Okay, so I went ahead and turned Angela's Bakery around so you guys could see the working area of the bakery. And so this is behind the scenes work. Obviously, if you want to create all your delicious delicacies, you would use it. You would make them on this cast iron grill here, and then the furnacey fire is behind here. So if you really wanted to have Nellie back here cooking for Samantha, maybe she's helping out in Angela's Bakery, and since Samantha's quite affluent and was born affluent, she probably wouldn't know how to fry eggs and bacon on her own without Mrs. Hawkins in the kitchen, right? So Nellie would be back here frying the bacon and the eggs. And so here are the eggs that come with the bakery. So you would have your farm fresh eggs right there. Oops, sorry guys. My phone is not wanting to cooperate today for part 2. All right, so you would have your bacon and eggs right here, and you would be baking it on this cast iron grill that's attached to, obviously, the fiery oven here. And then when you raise this up, you can almost see, here we go, you can see the fire. Can you guys see that? That roaring fire. So imagine labor laws. If you're a little kid and you're working in a factory and you're just frying away, frying your bacon and eggs for the customers, right? Because there were no child labor laws back then. And, clients, wealthy clients like Samantha would come and they would demand, where's the bacon? Where's the eggs? Where's my bacon? Where's my eggs? And poor little Nellie back here would be working with the fiery furnace, making those bacon and egg sandwiches. And speaking of bacon and egg sandwiches, yeah, you could do that, right? Along with this set. See how you can only fit the bacon and the egg, but if you really wanted to do a hole in, what is it? What is that thing called? That sandwich where you put a hole in the bread and then you fry the bacon and egg in the hole. I don't know, it's part of Molly's cookbook. if you guys really wanted to look that up. But see how this egg is a little too large to be on top of the toast? But I guess you could pretend that you're having like a bacon sandwich, right? And that would be like your bacon and egg sandwich, your breakfast sandwich. Or some people like to dip their toast in the yolk and then eat it like that. See? So lots of play value, but you see how you can't really have your toast and egg on one plate unless you put the egg on top of the toast. So you have to really kind of decide what you want for a setup. But yeah, this is the working side of the bakery. So again, if you wanted to pretend that you were making these delicacies for your customers, you actually could turn the bakery around and be the one fixing the breakfast instead of the patron having breakfast, right? Okay, so speaking of patrons having breakfast, I decided to bring out Samantha and Addie. And so this is Addie now living on Society Hill. She traded in some of her stuff for some fancier items now that she's at Society Hill. And so here's her pie set and everything. So if you wanted to use Angelo Bakery jam from that set instead of using the strawberry jam that comes with the breakfast for two set, you actually could. And it would fit this set, this tea set. But if you were using the one that comes with the breakfast for two set, look at the difference. So in size and in content, you're going to have like a nice picture of strawberries growing on a vine here, and then you're going to have the jam writing on the breakfast for two. Also, speaking of breakfast for two, you can actually fit the toast and the bacon and egg on a plate if you do mix and match your doll collection accessories. So if you